Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, a top county official says he is stepping down. And a controversial wind project gets okayed for the East County, but with some conditions attached.
And just as students prepare to head off to college, we'll explain a new tool that helps calculate the hidden cost and how to get financial help. Plus, San Diego is in its first heat wave of the summer. The practical tips you'll need to help you stay heat healthy and conserve energy.
And San Diego researchers want to know if algae could clean up emissions from power plants. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. San Diego County Supervisors have approved a major wind turbine project, the first of what may be a series of them in East County. The vote came after a lot of debate for and against the project. KPBS reporter Allison St. John has been monitoring the meeting. She joins us over the phone. So, Allison, how important was today's vote?
Well, Dwayne, it was quite important. Although it only applies to the transmission lines crossing county land, it opens the door for almost 100 wind turbines to be put up by Iberdrola Renewables on mountains east of San Diego near Boulevard, just north of Interstate 8. That's about 5 miles away from where you can see those existing wind turbines on the Campo Reservation. Well, it's one of the best sites for harnessing wind power in California, and it's a step towards San Diego's goal of meeting the state's requirement to generate 33% of our power from renewables by 2020.
And how much power would this project provide?
Well, once completed, it would power about 60,000 homes, which is a drop in the bucket compared to, say, San Onofre, which powers about 1 million homes or more when it's running. But there could eventually be 400 turbines out there if future projects are approved, so wind could become an important part of our energy mix.
And Allison, did the supervisors make any concessions to the folks who were opposed?
Yes, there were a lot of people who were very devastated at the effect it'll have on the backcountry, the visual effects. There were people who said that there were health effects, although that is speculative at this point. Fire danger is a valid concern. They have got some mitigation factors in place. The company is contributing to the fire department and building huge open-topped water tanks in case there is a fire. But basically, all those arguments about the problems were overcome by this ambitious goal that the county has to meet this 33% of renewables by 2020. So they decided to go ahead.
KPBS reporter Allison St. John. The man who's managed San Diego County for the past 13 years is stepping down. Walt Eckert has been chief administrative officer since 1999. Managing more than 15,000 employees and a $5 billion budget. When county supervisors set a policy, Eckert's job is to make it happen. His resignation takes effect December 1st. Eckert says he's not retiring and he's looking forward to other opportunities. Another state lawmaker is working on a bill to notify law enforcement whenever someone buys more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition. This video shows a stockpile of over 4,100 rounds. Assemblywoman Nancy Skinner is proposing the measure. She says it's prompted by reports the suspect in the Colorado movie theater shooting bought more than 6,000 rounds in a short period of time. County officials are marking the one-year anniversary of their free prescription drug discount program. They say it saves San Diegans a lot of money and given the county some extra cash. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg has the story.
County officials say the Coast to Coast RX discount card is a real hit. The free card offers savings of up to 75% on both brand name and generic prescription drugs. The cards are available at pharmacies throughout the county and anyone can use them. Officials say in the program's first year, San Diegans have saved nearly $5 million on their prescriptions. What's more, the county has received a dividend of about $115,000.
And while it's not, a huge impact on the county's budget, being, such a large county, every penny helps.
County Supervisor Ron Roberts says almost 22,000 people have taken advantage of the discount card.
The number, while it's significant, it has a potential to grow exponentially. And I would hope that we see a significant increase this year. And I think, as people get these and they tell their neighbors, I suspect that word of mouth is going to be one of our best advertisements.
KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg. San Diego Senator Christine Kehoe has withdrawn her request for an audit of Escondidos' driver's license and sobriety checkpoints. Immigration activists claim police are targeting illegal immigrants with the checkpoints, and the ACLU questions whether the city is profiting from impound fees. Kehoe says the state auditor already did a review of checkpoints statewide. She hopes the ACLU and lawmakers can find other ways to make the checkpoint program more transparent. Mexican and American officials say they'll work together to solve environmental hazards on the border. Today, they adopted the Border 2020 program. It's a binational commitment to dealing with environmental problems, including water contamination from factories and air pollution from diesel trucks. The program will work with community groups to identify environmental hazards. The cost at the gas pump in San Diego rose nearly 2 cents today. The Auto Club says it's the largest daily increase since mid-May. Gas prices around the county have gone up 6.5 cents in the past week. The average for a gallon of regular is now $3.89. Prices have gone up 24 times in the past month. Oil analysts predict they will keep rising after this week's fire at California's third largest refinery in Richmond. The county health department issued a heat warning today. Peggy Pico explains what it means and how you can stay cool while conserving energy.
San Diego County's first real heat wave of the summer will test our ability to manage our high-demand energy needs without help from the San Onofre nuclear power plant. California's ISO, the group responsible for operating the state's power grid, offers these tips to avoid brown or blackouts during the heat wave. They say set your thermostat to 78 degrees. Don't use air conditioners or appliances between 4 and 6 at night. After work is the peak power usage time. Keep your refrigerator full and reset your pool pump to run overnight. Plus, there's a few simple ways you can protect yourself and your family during the triple-digit heat expected in the next few days. Wendeline Anderson with San Diego's American Red Cross is here with some very practical ways to keep you and your family healthy. Wendeline, give us a few basic tips to be prepared for a power outage.
Okay, what we recommend is to have an emergency kit available to you and your family, to have enough water that you can sustain that outage or heat wave, such as 1 gallon per person per day available to them, and you can keep that in your fridge and keep that fridge full.
Yeah, keeping the refrigerator full helps lower the cost, but you don't want to necessarily do food if you're worried about a brownout. So 1 gallon of water and emergency kit. Let me ask you this: what are last year? I have to say there were 140 cases where the paramedics were called because of heat-related illnesses. What should people do? What are the signs of heat stroke and heat exhaustion?
Definitely some common sense things to keep yourself and your family out of the heat. Stay out of the heat during the heat of the day. Only exercise or go out early in the morning or later in the afternoon or evening. And make sure that you utilize cool zones throughout the county and keep yourself cool if you don't have air conditioning in your home. Also, if you do experience symptoms and signs of heat exhaustion, they include fatigue, like exhaustion. They include the face changing color. It can be pale or red, flushed. Also, a person can feel nauseous or dizzy because of this. And sometimes you see someone will have heat cramps as the onset of having trouble with the heat, where your legs and your abdomen are spazzing, reacting to that heat. What you want to do is move that person to a cool location, cool them down with cool packs or wet washcloths, and give them sips of water. Don't have them chug water. It'll be too much too fast. If it doesn't work,
I was going to ask, when do you call EMS? So you're doing these little first aid treatments, but there is a time to call 911.
If that's not working and that person's refusing water, they might be vomiting. Their skin would remain very red and hot. Sometimes it becomes dry as the body can't produce sweat to cool the body down. You want to call 911 and get emergency personnel involved immediately.
Let's go back to those cool zones. There's more than 100 in the county. You can certainly the blue and white polar bear sign, as we saw, that sort of tells you that that's one of the zones. They're at libraries, churches, community centers. People can call 211 for cool zone sites or go to the website coolzones.org. When is it time to think about getting out of the house and going to one of those cool zones or getting your family member to one?
Exactly. Red Cross is all about preparedness. We don't want to get to the point where people are suffering from heat stroke and it's life-threatening. So drink water continuously. We have water here. You've got your water prepared. Even if you don't feel thirsty, maintain that. For kids and older adults, they're especially susceptible to heat. Also, people that are ill, you want to make sure that they're maintaining their electrolytes as well, drinking sports drinks, fruit juices, even milk to maintain that in their body systems. And when in doubt, go to a cool zone. Don't wait until the last minute when you feel hot and exhausted. Go to and visit these locations on the weekend or during the day if you don't have air conditioning or a cool zone of your own.
And there's an app. San Diego County has put out an app that lists all the maps. They're in, like I said, more than 100 and in neighborhoods all over town. What if you have a senior, a grandma, or somebody who is not living with you and you suspect that you need to get them to a cool zone? Do you talk them into it? How do you get them there?
Well, maybe you can encourage them. Sometimes the community centers will have fun activities at that cool zone, or you can go to the mall or the theater and watch a movie. So you might be able to kind of convince them by the atmosphere of the zone itself. And speaking of apps, Red Cross also has a first aid app, which you can see right on your phone what to do in a heat-related emergency or disaster or other instances of emergency.
Let's talk about the first aid kit. There's the gallon of water per person, and as you said, put that water into the refrigerator because it helps actually when there's more things in your refrigerator to actually save energy, but also a gallon per person. So we're expecting 3 days of heat. That'd be 3 gallons for each person in the family, each adult in the family. You also have a flashlight and glow stick. Why not just have candles?
Candles add to the hazard and to the heat of the situation. Fires are often caused by unattended candles, so having a flashlight with plenty of batteries is your best bet.
Okay, Wendelene Anderson from American Red Cross, thank you so much.
Check us out on redcross.org.
All right, thanks.
Tomorrow, San Diego Gas and Electric is offering customers credits on utility bills for cutting power use. The Reduce Your Use program kicks in when temperatures are hotter than average. For athletes on the Mesa at San Diego State, it's business as usual despite the heat wave. It was already near 90 outside Viejas Arena by early afternoon. Many of the teams practice outdoors in the morning to beat the heat. Staying hydrated and well-fed is important, and so is keeping things in perspective.
This is nice in San Diego. I like this. This is nice. You could be down the south with all the humidity. This is nice and dry heat. This is good.
You drink lots of water and eat a lot. Eat every hour, 45 minutes probably. But yeah, nutrition is key to maintaining mental stability and physical stability during this heat.
An Olympic runner from Escondido has set a new precedent. We told you about Sarah Adder last night. She's the first woman to compete for Saudi Arabia in track and field. Unfortunately, she did not advance to Thursday's final of the women's 800 meters in London. The 19-year-old finished last, but says it was inspiring just to compete on the world stage. Adder grew up in Escondido, but holds dual citizenship through her father. She's currently an art major at Pepperdine University. California Democrats are criticizing Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney for his comments about our state's economy. Today in Iowa, he compared California to Greece, Spain, and Italy. All those countries have been struggling economically. California does have the nation's third highest unemployment rate, but a spokesman for Governor Jerry Brown says the state leads the nation in the number of jobs created. He also says California's bond rating outlook has improved. San Diego researchers are exploring the idea of using algae to keep major gas-burning power plants from clogging the atmosphere. It could also generate fuel as the algae scrubs power plant emissions. KPBS Business and Environment reporter Eric Anderson says the shared solution addresses two problems.
San Diego Gas and Electric's Palomar Energy Center in Escondido is a state-of-the-art facility. The 550-megawatt natural gas-fired power plant generates enough electricity to power 360,000 homes. Pollutants are scrubbed out of the plant's exhaust, but carbon dioxide still gets into the air because natural gas is burned to create electricity. That puts pressure on energy companies who are under a legislative pressure to shrink their carbon footprint.
Starting in 2015, gas companies also will have a carbon limit imposed, a carbon cap.
Jeff Reed is in charge of emerging technologies at Southern California Gas Company, which sells natural gas to this power plant.
So gas companies also need to start looking at sources of renewable natural gas, and I think we're ahead of the curve.
Getting ahead of the legislatively created curve means looking at two things: cleaning carbon out of power plant smokestacks and using clean, low-carbon fuel. Algae has the potential to do both at gas-fired power plants.
The tops of those stacks, instead of just going out to the atmosphere after the scrubbing that already happens, they would just be turned over and they would effectively bubble through a very large algae pond.
The carbon dioxide would feed the algae, which could be harvested, fermented, and turned into methane. Methane is linked to global warming, but it releases less carbon dioxide than natural gas when burned. The technology is just a concept right now, but researchers at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography are trying to figure out if it will work in real life.
So this bottle of carbon dioxide gas is fed into this apparatus, which is then fed into the tubes, and then we can set the pH at different levels that might be found in nature.
Dominic Mendola is working on a 2-year project to see if the algae carbon trap will work out.
Algae are plants. They happen to be, submerged plants. But we can put CO2 into the water by bubbling CO2 into an algal culture raceway, for example, or into a photobioreactor. You put bubbles in of CO2, and then you tune it to the right rate of emission of the CO2 to the growth of the algae in that system and in that environment.
Mendola is working with different algal strains and different levels of CO2. He hopes to be able to pinpoint the most efficient blend and find out if the idea is practical. He sees it as a way to give back.
If man has had some contribution to putting extra CO2 into the atmosphere, then man has a moral responsibility to help do something about it. So in this laboratory, we're studying how algae can absorb CO2 from the atmosphere.
But the concept carries a price tag. A power plant like the one in Escondido would need a major retrofit and land nearby to build enough algae ponds to filter the plant's emissions. Land costs money, especially in Southern California.
You can't do this for free. It has to pay for itself, or at least come close to paying for itself. And the way you do that is by letting the algae convert the CO2 into useful biomass.
That biomass can be diesel, methane, or even high-protein animal feed. All can be sold to help pay for the retrofit. Scientists hope to know a lot more about the idea's potential when the 2-year project is complete.
Eric Anderson reporting. The Scripps project is one of many algae research efforts in San Diego. Several companies are working to create fuel from algae, and there's a regional research hub at UC San Diego. The cost of going to college, any college, keeps climbing. Peggy talks with an expert about finding an affordable college and avoiding years of student debt.
The average American family can expect to pay more than $40,000 for a 4-year college degree at a public university. But often that's because students and parents don't know the tricks of the trade, like where to find grants, how to get the best bang for your buck, and how not to rack up tens of thousands in student loans. Here to explain how is Lynn O'Shaughnessy, the author of The College Solution. Lynn, thanks for being here.
Sure.
How much does it cost to attend a state school like UCSD right now?
Right. Well, when you consider tuition, room and board, books, it's probably about $28,000, $29,000 right now. It's pretty high.
How about expensive schools, let's say Stanford?
Oh, well, you can get into the 55 to some schools now are cracking $60,000. Shocking.
In order to pay for this, a lot of middle-class parents, I've heard this complaint a lot. They say, I'm not poor enough to get, certain grants, but I'm not rich enough to pay for these on my own. What situation are they in, and what can they do about it?
Well, in this state, what people don't understand is basically if you make over $80,000 a year, family of 4, you're not going to get help from the state schools here. That's just a reality. But you can make, 6 figures and get money, financial aid from private schools. So it's not true that if you're middle class you can't get money. It depends on the schools that you're applying to, and that's where you have to be smart about which schools are you aiming for. And I recommend that families who need financial aid look for schools that give good financial aid packages.
When parents do start considering this, where should they go to look for this kind of information?
Okay. Well, you know, I think one of the best tools is a net price calculator, which is brand new. The federal government has mandated that every school in the country have one on their website. You can go to any school, private or public, and use the calculator, punch in information from your income tax return and about your kids' GPA, SAT scores, that sort of thing. And it will give you a personal estimate of what that school is going to cost. It can be way lower than the price tag.
You said that most people don't, in your book, you said that most people don't pay full price for college tuition. What do you mean by that?
That's right. Actually, about 85% of families who their kids are going to private schools do not pay full price. Now, when you consider all public and private schools, about 2/3 do not pay full price. They get scholarships and grants. And so you really need that. When you consider the price of schools today, you need to look at schools that are going to give your child a discount.
Something else to consider are graduation rates within a 4-year period. Why is that important?
Well, it's important because most families assume their children are going to get out in 4 years. And this is something that I talk about all the time in talks and in my blog, thecollegesolution.com. But most students do not graduate in 4 years. At state schools, less than 30% get out in 4 years. San Diego State, for instance, is one of the better Cal State schools. Their grad rate is about 30%. Cal State San Marcos is about 13%. So overall, the Cal State system, only 15% graduate in 4 years. Now the UCs, the top UCs are much better. UCLA, Berkeley, their grad rates are like 68, 69% for 4 years. So a lot of these kids are getting out in 5 years or 6 years. And you need to think about that when you're comparing prices. Look at the grad rates, which you can find by going to collegeresults.org. You can find all the grad rates for any school you want.
What about, briefly, student loans versus grants?
Okay, well, obviously it's good to get those grants because grants is free money, okay? And the most elite schools in the country, when you're looking at financial aid, they can load the package entirely with grants. That's what you want. Now, most schools cannot be as generous as a school like the Ivy Leagues or Stanford, someplace like that. So you're going to look for schools, the best schools you can, that have the best financial aid based on where your child can get in.
Federal or state grants, which is better?
Well, the federal grants is, the federal government's big grant program is Pell Grants. You have to be really low income to qualify for the full Pell Grant. It's only $5,500, and you have to make less than $23,000 to get that. Now, Cal Grants cover the tuition. The big Pell Grant program covers the tuition of a 4-year school, the state schools, but they don't cover room and board. And as I said before, you have to make, for a family of 4, you have to make $80,000 or less to qualify for a Cal Grant. And then the big money for families that make over that, Californians, is going to be from the schools themselves. A lot of private schools give far more money than a state school possibly could give. So you just have to weigh your options.
In a sentence, your takeaway message to students in high school, parents, should they do to look at financial aid for going to college?
Well, you need to be an empowered consumer, and you need to start really looking at using some tools like the net price calculator to make really good, sound financial decisions.
All right, Lynn O'Shaughnessy, author of The College Solution, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Peggy.
In tonight's Public Square, web user Cosmos Quark posted a question about our interview yesterday with 2 leaders in San Diego's Sikh community about their religion being mixed up with Islam, especially in hate crimes. He asked why the controversial issue of whether or not Sikhs are Hindu was not addressed, saying this would help those unfamiliar with Sikhism to understand they are not Muslims. They hardly ever mention it. Well, there's a reason. Amardeep Singh of San Diego Sikh Foundation said he did not want to focus on religious differences because hate crimes are wrong, regardless of religious mix-up or any other reason.
It's a shame, really, that there is this confusion. I think it obviously stems from some of the beliefs that people have said, the incidents at 9/11 and things like that have been attributed to other faiths. But, I mean, a hate crime is a hate crime.
Sue Hazelhurst Walsh posted this observation on Facebook. Unfortunately, there are those who believe we should all look the same and have the same beliefs. Tragic. You can add your comments to this story or any other KPBS news stories by following us on Twitter, Facebook, or just email us at publicsquare@kpbs.org.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. You have a great night.